For this example, I'm using the Spaces example spreadsheet that is copied into your macro folder when installing Spaces. As you can see, this spreadsheet lists a number of rooms with columns for number, name, length, width, and category. Of the categories in the spreadsheet, utility rooms and wet areas are already set up in my drawing. I can import data from this spreadsheet using the Excel import options on the macros menu. The macro interfaces with Excel to open the spreadsheet and also opens its own import dialog. It is necessary to map spreadsheet columns to Spaces fields, and this is done by clicking on the column letter and choosing from the drop-down menu. I can map columns that don't have data, and that mapping will be used if I subsequently export back to the spreadsheet. Some fields, in fact, are only available for exporting. Once I complete the column mapping, I select the spaces to be imported. I can select Arrange by clicking on the first space and then holding Shift while I click on the space at the end of Arrange. I need to ensure that selected dimensions match the numbers in the spreadsheet before clicking OK. The macro will prompt me to define categories if they are listed in the spreadsheet but not already set up in the drawing. If I choose to use custom fill colours, a standard Windows colour dialog is displayed instead of the DataCAD palette. Once I select my colour, the label on the button will show the red, green, blue values instead of the colour, name or number if I'd used the palette. Once all required categories are defined, the spaces are imported and placed in a straight row starting at the bottom left of the screen. I can now use the macros editing functions, as well as standard DataCAD functions such as move, rotate or stretch, to arrange the spaces into a desired layout. While I'm using a macro to drag spaces around, I can change the handle on rectangular spaces using the function keys F7 through F10. I'm picking these with the cursor so that it's obvious what I'm doing, but of course in actual practice you could simply press the function key. Also, before changing a handle, it is located at the point that I selected the space by, so if I snap to the appropriate corner of each space, I wouldn't need to change the handle at all. During this process of arranging the layout, I stretch the dining and bathroom spaces by 6 inches, so I'll expect to see those dimensions update if I re-export to the original file. When I select the Excel export option, the export dialog is displayed. You will notice that each space is already linked to a particular row in the spreadsheet. This indicates the locations they were originally imported from. When I select Export to Linked File, the spreadsheet is updated with the new details, and you can see that the length of the dining and bathrooms have been changed. The data in column E was not changed, but Excel is displaying it differently because there is now data in the adjacent column F. Note that the macro simply exports data. You can add column headings or cell formatting as desired. Now that we've exported a spreadsheet that is linked, I'll run through an example of exporting to a spreadsheet that is not already linked to the spaces. For this example, I'm just going to export the wet area category. Having selected the spaces, I choose to open the Excel file after the export and then click the Export to Other File button. I could choose an existing file, but I'm choosing to type the name of a new file that will be created. As I haven't exported to this file previously, I'm prompted to map the spreadsheet columns to the space fields. I'm not going to choose to update the link as I want my spaces to remain linked to the other spreadsheet. Before pressing OK, I choose to leave a couple of rows above the export so that I'll have space to type some headings later. And once the export is complete, I type those headings and format some columns appropriately. I'll then return to DataCAD, where I wish to create a space to fill the void that is currently in the centre of my blocked plan. For the Excel import, I had the macro set to define spaces by wall surface, but now that I'll effectively be tracing around a wall centre line, I want to change that to define by wall centre. Once my new space is created, I can see that it appears on the Excel export screen, but as it doesn't have any linkage information, I can't use the export to linked file option. I need to select just the unlinked space and use the Export to Other File button, even though in fact I'm linking it to the same file as the other spaces in the drawing. I choose to export it to a new row after the current last row of the sheet and to leave one blank line in between. I'll just make a comment here about the R area % field. The macro considers each export as a report for the purpose of this tag. So if we're just exporting one space, it will give a value of 100%. I'm adding an additional D area %, which will always report the percentage of the total drawing. Finally, before pressing OK, I check the box to ensure that this space is linked to the spreadsheet. The row hasn't come in quite where I expected because I forgot that I'd added a total percentage field and the row has been inserted below that. To get it in the desired position, I need to delete everything below the garage line and repeat the process. I can see that the new line is now where I want it, but to add the new column to all the previous rows and to update the percentages, I need to export all the spaces to their linked Excel locations. Having done that, I can format columns and add totals as required. The Excel Defaults option is used to specify an existing spreadsheet that will be used as a template when you're exporting to a new file, and also to specify a default column mapping that will be used when you export to a new file. My template file has one heading row, so I wish to leave one row above the exported data. The template also has some formulas in columns J and K. Those won't be overwritten provided I don't specify any column mapping for those columns. The defaults that I've set up will now be used anytime I choose Export to Other File and specify an Excel file that does not already exist. I do have a chance to modify the settings, but on this occasion I'm leaving them as is and pressing OK. The space data is imported into the spreadsheet as expected, with the column headings, formatting and formulas retained from the template file. That wraps up this video. I'm not sure how many people will use the import functionality, but I can see the Excel export being quite useful. I hope that you can find a use for at least some of the things that I've demonstrated. Thanks for watching.